Pokémon Sword and Shield are absolutely fantastic and people need to realise it. Take yourself back to February 2019. Sword and Shield are officially revealed with the Galar region and the 3 new starters being front and centre of the Nintendo Direct. However, there is immediately a swarm of fury bubbling up as more and more information comes out about the game. Now listen, if you're a Pokemon fan, you already know this, and I'm going to be going over old ground, but if you somehow don't, here's the basic rundown. Number 1. The graphics looked far worse than anyone expected for the first big new generation out on the Nintendo Switch. The trees meme especially became rampant over the internet, but the general models of the Pokemon, draw distance of the environment, and overall look of the game received immense criticism. The second point was that for the first time ever, the EXP share that had been present for all Pokemon games since Gen 2 was going to become a permanent thing in your party, meaning all battling gives experience to all Pokemon in your party, not just a single Pokemon holding the item, and crucially, that couldn't be turned off. And thirdly, Dexit. Now, this is the main issue with Sword and Shield for so many people. For the first time in their history, the Pokemon Company decided to not include certain Pokemon in their newest generation. This is not the same as Gen 5, which acted as almost a reset for the franchise, and previous Pokemon were locked behind in the post-game. No, this was, well, we've just not included every Pokemon so far, but we have got some. This meant that literally hundreds of Pokemon weren't in the game, and it seemed to just be taken at random and no justification given why some were chosen and why others weren't. Dexit was used as the term for this due to Galar being based on the United Kingdom, and it was a pun on Brexit, Britain leaving the European Union. Hashtags also went viral across multiple social media platforms with hashtag #BringBackNationalDex. So, those are the 3 big issues. Do I disagree with any of them? Well, in regards to the EXP share, I actually have a video that is going to be coming out soon about why I really like it, and that the one introduced in Sword and Shield is my favourite version of it, so I won't really touch on that in this video, but stay tuned. But the other 2 points, nah, I don't necessarily disagree with them. The game doesn't look amazing, let's just be honest. The tree stuff is objectively bad, and the general conversation about graphics, especially compared to other games available for the Nintendo Switch at the time, and especially in the years that followed. And the lack of full decks isn't ideal. However, Sword and Shield are arguably in my top 3 favourite Pokemon games ever. Now, I was slightly late to Sword and Shield. I specifically picked up Shield as I never got to it until the end of 2020. So I had a lot of knowledge about the game going in, and it was entirely negative due to being a Pokemon fan online and existing within the community. So I can safely say I wasn't super excited. I got it at a much cheaper rate on a sale that was going on in the local supermarket, and I thought, right, let's give this a go. I jumped in and very quickly started to enjoy myself. I went with Grookey as my starter, named him Trey after the drummer in Green Day, and it just went from there. Yes, Hop does my head in. Yes, Leon is infuriating. Yes, the constant stopping and explaining everything like you have never picked up a controller before is really irritating. But I just couldn't help but have fun. I absolutely love the Pokemon models being visible in the overworld so you can pick exactly what you want to interact with. I love the wide open expansive environment of the wild area that runs through the entire map, and being able to run into immediately super high level Pokemon and trying your luck to get them early, but most times out of 10 just being eviscerated. As a Scottish person, I love how much like home the entire world feels, from the interactions you have with people to the design of the architecture. As the game went on and on, I found myself enjoying it more and more. The music is incredible, by the way. I know that's not something unique to Sword and Shield. Pokemon's music generally is fantastic, but I immediately found myself drawn to Gen 8 score more than most. I just mentioned it, but immediately, Gen 8 has some of my favourite Pokemon ever. The Grookey line, with Rillaboom especially, has arguably become my favourite grass starter trio ever. Corviknight is one of my go-to flying types immediately. Nickit is the first ever Pokemon that I actively shiny hunted. Alcremie is the GOAT. There are so many Pokemon that I couldn't believe how good they looked as I played the game and discovered them for the first time. Actually, on the wonderful individual that is Alcremie, let's speak about Gigantamaxing and the Gym Challenge. Getting gym badges in Pokemon by the time you get to the 8th generation had just become a means to an end really. You know what you have to do, you go through the gyms, they're going to look pretty similar, they're all going to have slightly different puzzles, but in the end you know what you're getting. But in Gen 8, they completely revamped it and it's so much better. For the first time in the games, it felt like you were participating in the Pokemon League in the way it had been shown in the anime. It made sense why these gym leaders are world famous, because they're not just shoved into little buildings and only interact with individual trainers, they're being shown like it's a football game on television. Then in terms of gameplay, the little mini games you do before the actual battles are really fun and make it more interesting rather than just facing lower levels of the same type you're about to face with the leader. And then the actual arenas, they feel so much bigger, they feel alive. I mean, listen to this music. Oh, it's so good! Then, the new battle mechanic of Gigantamaxing was super fun. Part of me just cares about it for the massive cake, but the amount of Gigantamax forms that are so cool made me actually want to try different Pokemon to see if they had a Gigantamax form way more. That then brings you to the DLC, where you have a great new area introducing other Pokemon that you couldn't get elsewhere, especially with the Diglett challenge. Then another area where there is the Gigantamax Adventures, which has been one of the most prominent game modes to this day, even half a decade later. So overall, I completely understand the issues people had and still have with Generation 8 and Sword/Shield in general. But after putting over 150 hours into the game, I just think it's absolutely fantastic and hope other people can realise that many other people do as well. Thank you so much for watching. I understand it's a generation that people are very passionate about in both a positive and a negative sense, so if you disagree with me, that is no problem at all. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments, and likewise, if you agree with me, tell me why you love it, because I would love to hear. There might be different reasons, there might be the same reasons, but if you have enjoyed the video, please leave a like, comment and subscribe. I have a lot more Pokemon videos on my channel, a lot more Pokemon videos coming out as well, so if you're interested, I hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye.